channel is sponsored by Great Bay Outfitters. Great Bay Outfitters is a waterfront kayak shop located near Great Bay. They are New Jersey's #1 volume dealer of Old Town kayaks. Great Bay Outfitters specializes in fishing kayaks and offers demos, rentals, repair, rigging, and a full assortment of PFDs, dry suits, motors, paddles, and accessories from many major brands.
Alright, what is up everyone? It is pretty early in the morning. Sun hasn't come up just yet. Haven't done much surf fishing at all, if any, actually, since last fall. So today's gonna be kind of a test run. I've got some fish bites that I'm throwing on my high-low rig right now, and got the tail end of an incoming tide. Kind of hard to tell what the water looks like yet. Luckily there's not much wave height, so hopefully there's not too much current. I'm only fishing 1 ounce, but let's see if anything's biting today. Today's goal: get a handful of fish to take home to eat. Honestly, don't need many. Like 2 or 3 whiting kingfish or larger spot are more than enough, just for a meal. Personally, I don't like to really freeze fish, so anything extra we'll just throw back, or anything small we're gonna throw back. Ah, missed it. There we go. First fish of the day. Not very big, but it's a fish. What do we got? Oh, 2 fish. 2 little spots. If I brought my live well, I would have kept these. These are like perfect striper size. Alright, it's a double header spot. You know it's only going to go downhill from there. Throw you a little further in. There we go. Alright. So that was right past the first set of breakers, right, I don't know, 20 yards or less. If we keep getting that size spot right there, I'll probably just push a little further out, like maybe an additional 10 yards. Whoa, I think I missed that one. Now if we get some spots that are a little bit bigger, I'll keep them for dinner. Probably minimum size I'd keep for one of them is like 10 inches. There we go. Anything smaller than 10 inches is going to be a nightmare trying to clean and get any meat off of. Like, that's really good bait size, man. I'll tell you what, I'm definitely going to come back tomorrow. Like, that's, I don't know, 6 inches or so. 5-6 inch fish. They're prime bait for striper, flounder, tuna, if you have the means to get out there. But that size fish though, if I were to keep a bunch of them, yeah, I'd get fillets, but they'll be about this big, and you'd have to keep a ton of them to just get enough for a meal, in my opinion. We normally get a good run of bigger spot towards the tail end of the summer and the beginning of the fall. It's just, I think, a different school or class of them. Oh man, that was a good hit and I missed it. But we're using fish bites, so the nice thing is I'm not worried about losing bait. It's pretty hard to rip these off unless you've been fishing with them for over an hour. So the nice thing about fishing with fish bites over natural or live baits is they last a lot longer on the hook, in my opinion. Like these small pieces that I just cut should last me close to an hour. About an hour in, what happens is the coating of this gets real gummy, and I don't know if you can see this, there's a piece of mesh that holds it together. That's all that will be left after, you know, it disintegrates. But you can catch so many fish on just a small piece of bait like this. Whereas if you're using bloodworms, clams, squid, any type of cut bait, unless it's like salted, more than likely you're going to be replacing baits every cast. It's just kind of how it is. But everybody's got their own personal beliefs and opinions. Mine is just this time of year, it's hard to really beat fish bites. Sometimes what I'll do if the fishing is a little bit slower and the fish are more picky, see, look at those hits. I missed him. Yeah, I missed him. But the fish are a little bit more pickier. What I'll end up actually doing is putting a half of a sand flea on top of the fish bite. What that does, if they pick at the sand flea and they, you know, pick it off, at least there's still that little piece of bait there for them to go after. I know down south a lot of guys do that for pompano, and look at all those hits. Oh man, all those hits, and I'm wait till it stops hitting. There we go. Took a second to get that one. Oh, I can't. Yeah, there must be a school spot right behind that first bar, because I mean it's instant hits. And you'll find like the kingfish, whiting get mixed in with them. They kind of just sit in the same habitat, but when I find that there's a lot more spot in that first bar, I'll try and push a little bit further into like the next bar, because you never know, they could be congregating a little bit further off, but typically they're sitting pretty close to your feet. And what I'll do sometimes is cast a little further out and just walk backwards a little bit by dragging the bait a little bit closer in, rather than keeping my hand on the reel and just slowly retrieving it. This way it's easier to keep the line tight and keep your hand on the line. That, or you could just reel and try and set the hook, but I do find it's a little bit tougher doing that than just walking backwards. Sun's finally up. This is like the prime time to be out here, man. The beach is like completely empty, with the exception of random people walking and younger people coming here to see the sunrise. In about 2 hours, it'll be unfishable here, because it's just typical New Jersey beach town. It's just crowded, overcrowded. Now, one of the most overlooked things I think with this fishing is the amount of weight you use. Personally, I try to stay within 1 to 2 ounces if possible. When we first got here, I was using a 1 ounce, and there was a lot more current than what I was expecting, so I had to move it up to a 2. There we go. You could tell right away if you need that extra weight. And the first cast, my rig got swept straight across my face, like instantly. Another spot, that's actually like the best size one yet for bait. And I did not bring a shark rod. Next time I'll bring one, because throw one of them out there, you won't have to wait long for like a sand tiger or sandbar. But my 1 ounce weight just swept me straight across. Not that you can't catch them with it moving, because that's a myth. I don't like not being able to hold bottom for a little bit, because then your bait or your rig gets swept out of, you know, that target zone that you want to fish. So one of the main questions I'll normally get on a video like this is, how do you pick your spots? Where do you go? Are there specific areas that you're looking at? Well, when you come out here, it's easier to do in person. You could do it on Google Earth or any type of online maps. But what I'm looking for is areas like this where the waters are receding. Typically that means there's a cut right in that area. Where those cuts and gullies are tend to hold more fish. Not all the beach is created equal, in my opinion. For this type of fishing, you can honestly pretty much go anywhere and probably have luck. But the bigger fish do tend to sit in these like cuts and gullies. There we go. I don't know if I missed them. Missed them. All right, I'm gonna try a little further out, see if anything's past these spot. One of the easiest things to do if you really want to find good surf spots, my opinion would be come at dead low tide and just walk, scan the beach. That's how you're gonna find a lot of these gullies and cuts and bars. The cuts are easier to see on a receding tide, but finding those areas is definitely gonna boost your results in catching fish. Because what's nice at how I found this area that I'm fishing currently, oh man, that was a good hit and I missed it. Came to the beach with my daughter at a dead low tide, not on purpose, just that's the tide it was. And where I am fishing right now, there's a clear as day, like large gully, I don't know, 20, 30 yards out. And then there's a big bar behind it, and then another gully. Those typically are like a perfect haven for these fish to feed in, because they're in between the troughs and they don't have to worry about as much current. Larger fish will come in there and feed on those smaller fish. There's just a lot of good things that happen in these little areas. But what's funny is it doesn't matter the tide, you can catch them low, high, middle. I do find though that based off the tide, the fish do move. With a incoming tide, they push closer in. With an outgoing tide, they kind of hold a little bit more. There we go. Took me a second to get that one. That was further out. Still some spot. That's interesting. So that was much further than the first gully. I don't think I was in the second gully per se. I think I was on the bar behind this gully. So I think it might just be one of them days where blind casting is going to kind of give you the same results. When the water temperature gets as warm as it has, it makes sense that there's that many more spot and croaker in the surf. I read a statistic at the beach town that I'm in that came out 2 days ago saying that the ocean temperature today, or 2 days ago, was what it normally is on average on August 9th, year to year, which is 80 degrees. And we're only in, you know, halfway through July, so I'm kind of curious to see where the rest of the summer goes when the water temperature is this warm this early. You know, this is typically August water temperatures that we're fishing in. What I'm hoping is it helps with the offshore fishery. Usually when it warms up, we start to see more mahi closer in and other like warmer water species. But I'm very interested to see what the effect on the back bay is, because I noticed this about a few weeks ago when I was sheepshead fishing. The water temperature was about 83 where I was fishing, and I can't remember any years where the water temperature was that warm in July where I was fishing. So, and granted, you never know. There's always upwellings and random breaks in the water temperature due to like the wind and everything, but kind of curious how that goes. So the fish bites that I'm using today are shrimp is the scent, but I've used the sand flea, bloodworm alternative, all the random ones that they have, clam, and they all work pretty well. I don't think there's one that works better than others. My only recommendation, what I'll do in the winter time, typically around December, January, you can find some really good deals on fish bites at the end of the season when it's, I guess, they have a higher inventory and they're not selling them as much. You know, at Walmart you could find them for about $4 a pack when they go on sale like that, compared to like the normal $6.99 or $7.99, whatever they may be now. Not that it's that big of a difference, but if you don't have to spend the extra money, I wouldn't. They hold really well. As long as, the biggest thing that I found with them, you just got to make sure the bag is completely sealed, because if you get any type of moisture in it, it kind of ruins the rest of the baits. But the bags, I must say, Fish Bites does a good job with their packaging. Unlike Gulf, where I feel like their packages just leak like you couldn't believe, the Fish Bites packages actually stay pretty solid. And half the time I'll end up condensing most of those bags into like a Ziploc or something a little bit stronger that has a little bit of a better seal. Ooh. That was actually a decent little knock. I wonder what that was. What's interesting is I've been getting a little bit better hits a little bit past this gully, like on the sandbar. I say that and then we catch that little guy. Wow. Don't get discouraged if you're missing bites, man. Like when you see this size fish and how small their mouths are, when there's a million of those little spots in the surf, it could be kind of frustrating if you're missing them. But now another must, in my opinion, scissors. You need scissors. Doesn't matter what type of scissors, just a pair. Trying to tear these or rip a piece off is pretty difficult. You could use a knife, but scissors seem to be the best option to getting the right size bait. Now I like trimming mine to, I don't know, fit directly in the middle of the hook. I've been hooking them once. Problem I found is if you double hook them, or if you like try and like feed it on like as much as you can, it doesn't leave as much space for you to set the hook, and what happens is it seems like you lose more fish as you're retrieving, like they're falling off because the barb isn't completely set in their jaw. And those of you that surf fish kind of know it can be a little tricky bringing fish in shallow water because once the weight of the fish sometimes hits the sand and takes the pressure off the hook, you can lose fish that way. That's why it's essential if you're fishing to take stuff home and actually land stuff, you do want to use hooks with barbs, because the barbless hooks, you'd lose a lot of fish in the surf that way. I might slide over a little bit. I'm seeing like a little bit of a different cut that I'd like to try. That's one of the things too, like I've learned over time, is just being observant of how the water recedes. See how that's receding like this back, and you see how there's kind of like a little path where there's not as many waves breaking right there. That's a telltale sign that there's a cut in that general vicinity, and it seems like the fishing's usually pretty good in those cuts. We'll see. I just cast it out, whoa, to the second gully, and we just got into this one. So I'm a little further out than I have been casting. I wanted to see what was out there. And it's more spot. So both gullies are loaded with spot. I lost my bait. Trying to save it. That's funny.